Apex allows you to create multiple triggers on the same S object. But in this case, the order of execution of these triggers is not guaranteed. For example, let's say you have two triggers on the lead object. The first trigger is called lead trigger 1. The second trigger is called lead trigger 2. But you can never control which of these triggers will execute first whenever you make some changes to your lead data. And also, all of these multiple triggers that will be executed when you will make some changes to your lead data, they share the same set of governor limits. So if you have a governor limit of 100 SOQL queries, that will apply to all these triggers that will be executed in one single transaction. So your lead trigger 1 and your lead trigger 2 will share the 100 SOQL queries. You will not get the different set of limits for each of these triggers. As per Salesforce best practice, you should always have one single trigger per S object, and from the same trigger you can control your execution flow. For example, if you want to run multiple automations on the lead object, then write one single trigger on the lead object and write all your automations in the same trigger. But for now, we are going to see an example of having multiple triggers. So let's go back to our developer console and let's create one more trigger on the lead object. So now I have another requirement. What I want to do, whenever I create a new lead record or whenever I update a lead record, and if this rating field is blank, then I want to change it to warm. So we are going to do it with the help of another trigger on the lead object. So let's go back to our developer console and I'm going to go to File, New, Apex Trigger. Let's call it lead trigger 2, but you can name it anything that you want. I'm going to select lead here from this list and click on submit. We are going to run this trigger for before insert and before update event. Again, we are going to get our new versions of record with the help of trigger.new, and we are going to iterate over these records with the help of a for each loop. It should be trigger.new. This is going to give me the list of new versions of lead records on which this lead trigger is being executed. So what I want to do here, I'll have an if condition and it will be like string dot is blank, and it should be lead record dot, what was the field name? It is rating, right? So rating. So if rating is blank, then I would set it to warm. Along with this, I'm also going to put some debug statements in both of my triggers so that we can see which of these triggers is executing first. So let's add a debug statement here and I'm going to name it lead trigger 2 is executing. That's it. Let's save this one and let's copy this debug statement and paste it to our lead trigger 1 as well. But here let's change this statement to lead trigger 1 is executing. So let's save this one as well, and now let's go back to our Salesforce org and let's make some changes to this record. Let's add the title. That's our favorite thing to do. Let's click on save, and since the rating field was blank, we are seeing that it's being updated to warm, and that is being done by our lead trigger 2. But we need to check which trigger executed first. So I'm going to open the debug logs and let's click on debug only, and you see this time lead trigger 1 executed first and lead trigger 2 executed later on. I'm going to make some experiment and I'm going to make some changes again till the time we see that the lead trigger 2 is executing first, because you can never control this order of execution if there are multiple triggers on the same S object. So after a lot of tries, I can see that this time my lead trigger 2 executed first and the lead trigger 1 executed later on. So that's what my point is. When you have multiple triggers on the same S object, then you cannot control which of these triggers will fire first. So it's always better that you have one single trigger and from the same trigger you control all your automations.